Hello, friends. I am so glad to be with you. My name's Ethan Magnus, and you're here in week 2 of our conversation about the problem of Jesus. Now, Jesus himself, of course, isn't the problem. The problem is that his identity, his reality, and his life is so disruptive to our lives that we've got to deal with it or ignore him altogether. Here in week 2, we're talking specifically about the problem of Jesus' teaching. Now, to be clear, there would be no problem if he taught like most people taught, filled with good advice and sound arguments, maybe a little bit of wisdom, allowing his students to sort of consider his point of view and take on for themselves that which fits or makes sense or they find convincing. If he taught like a common persuader, trying to encourage and convince his listeners to hold his position, there would be no problem with Jesus' teaching. But Jesus doesn't teach like that. He teaches in this fascinating, new, and problematic way. He's very different from most of the teachers of history, of our lives, and certainly most of the teachers of philosophy and religion. Jesus teaches with authority. Jesus commands. Jesus backs up his teaching with deeds of power. Jesus explains the world and then says, that's the way it is. He somehow doesn't ask our opinion or even our judgment on his teaching, but he sort of assumes that his teaching presents a judgment on our lives. It's really interesting. If you go to God's Word expecting a teacher to be filled with good advice and aphorisms and ideas, that isn't what we find at all. One of the most dramatic examples of this is a little snippet of teaching from Luke chapter 9. Luke chapter 9, verse 23, Jesus says this: "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross daily, and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for my sake, they'll save it." That's a different sort of teacher. He starts out, he says, if you want to be my student, let me explain. He says, if you want to sign up for my classes, let me tell you how my classes are structured. Lesson 1, deny yourself. I don't know if you ever, when you're scrolling the algorithms of YouTube, you'll see some commercial for some class or some teaching or some teacher. Have you noticed that they always start the opposite way? Take my class, listen to my teaching, it'll make your life better. And Jesus says, if you want to be my student, deny your own authority, your own opinions, your own ideas, your own self. And as if he wasn't clear enough, as if maybe he left some wiggle room after deny yourself, he says, take up your cross. In the Roman world, everybody knew who carried a cross. You carried a cross when you were on your way to die. Crosses weren't carried for fun or sport. Crosses were carried for one reason: when you would be executed. And Jesus says, if you want to be my student, you need to go so far as to set aside the very life you cling to. And then follow me. Now, of course, there's a promise attached to this. He says, the very one who seeks to save their life, they would have lost it anyway. But the one who loses their life for my sake, the one who does the whole deny yourself, take up your cross thing, When they follow me, they'll discover a life they couldn't have held on to if they tried. You see what I mean, don't you? He's no ordinary teacher. What teacher begins the lesson by telling their students to give up their lives and receive in return the one the teacher has for them? Here's the problem. The problem of Jesus' teaching is this: he isn't a good teacher. He isn't a source of wisdom. He's either a bad teacher or he's the only teacher wise enough to follow, obey, trust, give up everything in exchange for what he offers. We can't just say, oh, isn't it nice? Here's some wisdom. I'll consider it. He's either the Lord who teaches with authority, or he's sort of an oddball you might not want to listen to with all this take up your cross stuff. If that's the problem, here's my challenge. As you interact with the teachings of Jesus, this would be my challenge to you. Don't try to wiggle out of the problem. Don't try to turn the teaching of Jesus back into good advice, where you read what he says and you stop and can consider, I wonder if this makes sense for my life. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. We'll have to think about it. Don't let that happen to you. Don't wiggle out of the authoritative posture that Jesus claims for you. Instead, be the only kind of student Jesus asks for. What did he say again? He said, I want you to be my student. But if you're going to be my student, you'll have to deny yourself. That means I say, I am not the authority over my life. You are. I deny my own claim to my own life. Number 2, take up your cross. Follow through in saying, the life I live on my own, I don't even want. Let the life I live on my own die so that I might receive the life you would give me. And then follow him. Whatever he teaches, however he lives, wherever he goes. The only kind of teacher Jesus is willing to be is the one where we say, I'll follow you, I'll obey you, I'll trust you all the way to the ends of the earth, to the end of time. And that is the only kind of student Jesus, the teacher, invites. I hope your conversations are blessed as you consider who Jesus, the teacher, is and what it takes for you to be his student. I'll be praying for every conversation you have.